change of flair for sure.
All right. Sports. Talk. Live.
Do you guys even know where Vancouver Island is? It's not even close to Toronto. Okay, let's get things going.
Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Sports Show. I'm your host, Joshua Griffith, here on the Sports Talk Line Network. I'll be with you here for the next hour to get you caught up with sports, and sports are slowly getting back into action. So I got some great guests on today. It'll be a big hockey show because I know a lot of people have been asking, you're not doing as much hockey as we'd like. So we're going to do a little bit more hockey today. I have from social media from the Brampton Beast, Adam Reid will be joining me. We're going to talk some ECHL, a little bit of NHL. He's going to join me in about 10 minutes time. And then to close the show, best-selling author of the Hockeycard stories right here, and Hockeycard Stories 2, 59 more true tales from your favorite players, along with a couple other great books, and co-host of Sportsnet Central. He'll join me to talk some hockey and some hockey cards, Ken Reid. So we're actually going to open up a couple packs too. So I got them here. We got some old wax packs. We're going to open up and check a look at to see some funny cards. So let's get right into sports because it's back. We had a big announcement from the MLS. MLS is back. Wednesday they announced that all systems will go for July 8th. They're going to start down in Orlando, Florida, in the Disney Sports Compound. It's going to be 3 groups of 4 teams on the Western Conference side, and 2 groups of 4 teams, and 1 group of 6 teams on the East. We're going to get into this a little bit later, but they're each going to play 3 games, and those will go towards regular season standing. So the 3 games will all be points. After that, the top 2 teams from each group, and then the next 2 best teams, I would assume overall, in each side will move on to the quarterfinals and then the semifinals, and the finals being held August 11th, a couple days before my birthday. So I like that. Excuse me. The winner of the tournament will be awarded a CONCACAF Champions League berth, regardless of if it's a Canadian team that wins it. Let's hope it is Whitecaps. Let's hope it's them. But I would really take any Canadian team. And they'll also split $1.1 million in prize money. The draw for the new MLS is Back tournament, which is it's amply called, was done Thursday afternoon. And in the East, the one group that will have the 6 teams will consist of Orlando City FC and Inter Miami, and they will play the opening game to kick things off, which makes a lot of sense considering they're down there in Orlando. So those 2 teams will be joined by New York City FC, Philadelphia Union, Chicago Fire, and Nashville SC. The second group in the East, Group C, will consist of Toronto FC, the top seed in the group, joined by New England Revolution, the DC United, and their Canadian rivals, Montreal Impact. So this is probably the toughest group I would say is in the East, and it's my group of death over there. The third group is we'll have top seed Atlanta United. They'll have Cincinnati FC, the New York Red Bull, and the Columbus Crew. The West will break down a little bit like this. So we have the top seeds for each group: the LAFC, Seattle Sounders, and Real Salt Lake. Group B will have Seattle Sounders as the top seed, and the Whitecaps drew into that group, and they will be joined by the San Jose Earthquake and the FC Dallas. So it's not a bad draw for the Whitecaps. Mark Dos Santos spoke a little bit about it shortly after the draw. I have an article shortly after this comes out that will outline a little bit what he talked about and break down the tournament a little bit more. The next group will be Group D, and that'll be seated at the top by Real Salt Lake, and they will be joined by Sporting KC, Colorado Rapids, and Minnesota United. And what looks like the group of death in the West is Group F, with LAFC at the top, joined by the rivals LA Galaxy, Portland Timbers, and Houston Dynamo. So I'm glad the Whitecaps didn't really draw into the group with the two LA teams, because that would have been not as much fun, even with them having some stars like Carlos Vela and Chicharito Hernandez not going to come out. We'll have to find out what comes of that, if there's any more players or anything like that. But moving quite right along to MLB news. Sounds like we got some word in Major League Baseball. I'm just getting word here. Are we going to go? We're going to go to some live footage of negotiations between the Major League Baseball and the players. Yeah, I think we have live footage of it. Yeah, looks what it is about right there. So negotiations are not going really well right now with the league. They rejected the latest MLB Players Association proposal for an 89-game season with expanded playoffs. Rob Manfred said on Wednesday on ESPN that they would do another round of proposals towards the players, and would be a little bit more player friendly. And if things don't kind of get fixed on after that they would just move into a 48-game season, which they have an option of doing. Really looking forward to the collective bargaining agreement next year. So the NHL came out with a lot of news. They have a timeline for phase 3 of their process. I don't know if anyone else has seen actual groups of hockey players on the ice skating, passing each other, and shooting on a goalie, because I did, and I'm pretty excited about it. July 10th, teams will get underway with training camp in phase 3. It's kind of undecided yet if Canadian teams like Vancouver will choose to go down to the United States to do their training camps, to kind of avoid the 2-team period. And there's also the ideas of where the hub cities will be. That's yet to be undecided. Vegas has been floated out. Continually hear a lot of rumors and ramblings about Vegas. Premier John Horgan and Dr. Bonnie Henry actually made a pitch to the government of Canada and the NHL to use Vancouver as one of the hub cities. They would look to use the 14-day quarantine period, but allow all of the players to come in and quarantine with their staff and with their families, whatever they allow. And they would be able to do so on ice training and drills and things like that. So that would kind of bypass a little bit of that hurdle. We haven't really figured out the dates for, when everything is going to go on and get back started, but they have a date for training camp. So that looks good for me. Like I said earlier, it's a big hockey show. So we're going to talk a lot of hockey a little bit later on. UFC had a big weekend. It was a rather impressive card. 2 big knockouts. The first one in just under 2 minutes. Sean O'Malley KO'd Eddie Winland and then walked away like a boss with his technicolored hair. I really like to see that. I really like to say that. A little bit more impressive was the buzzer beater by Cody Garbrandt, who knocked out Rafael Sansao. It's not something you see much in the UFC. I'm not that big of a UFC fan. I caught the fight. I caught the cards, but it was good. It kind of got me excited for it. And it was 2 good matches. One of the matches that wasn't very good, and I hate to say it, was the Amanda Nunes pummeling of the Canadian Felicia Spencer. Hats off to Felicia for going 5 rounds, because I don't think I would even last 5 seconds. And that's if I was running around and they couldn't catch me for the 5 seconds. But I wouldn't put my money on that. The fight should have been stopped probably before it even got to the 5 rounds. Significant strikes were 124-42 in favor of Nunes. So let's hope UFC can get a little bit more even for cards on Fight Island, which they have planned for Abu Dhabi starting in July 11th with the first UFC 251 card, and then they'll have cards on the Wednesday night and then subsequent Saturdays moving on. NBA also has some news. It looks like they get back underway as soon as July 30th, but it could be without some big name stars who might not want to go. Woj just dropping bombs daily about the NBA, and some players might not like the quarantine or not being able to be with their families for the first 5 weeks, or until like the second rounds kind of start up there. The NBA said there wouldn't be any punishment if players didn't want to go, so that's nice to see by Adam Silver. I would imagine that they'll be replaced by G League players. This is just speculation on my part, of course. We also had the PGA that's back up, and it's going today. The Charles Schwab Challenge. Justin Rose is currently your leader after one round at 7 under, followed by Jonathan Vegas and Abraham Anser. We're both sitting at 6 under through the 18. The top Canadian through the field is Adam Hadwin, who is 2 strokes back at 5 under. And Jordan Spieth sits 3 under. Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy are 5 shots back at 2 under. So as I said tonight, I'm really excited about my guests. We're going to talk a bit more hockey. And my first guest is the social media for the Brampton Beasts in the ECHL and former communications assistant with the St. John's Ice Caps in the AHL. So that's usually my cue for Lee to bring up my guest. Hopefully he is here and ready to go in the waiting room, and we can bring him on. There he is, right there, right on cue. Hi, Adam. Oh, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, Adam. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me on the show.
How are you holding up during these times? How's your family doing? You staying safe and healthy and everything?
Yeah, it's been good. The past couple of weeks, we haven't had any new cases here, so things have been a lot better.
That's good to hear. So, starting to get back into a little bit of normal, depending on where you are. Obviously, Brampton is in Ontario, but are you based out of Ontario, or are you somewhere else?
No, actually, currently in Goose Bay, Newfoundland, and Labrador, so a bit more east than Brampton.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you were very, very far on the East Coast, which I love, because we got a West Coast here and we got East Coast, so it's really Canada wide on this show.
Absolutely.
Which I love. So, I mean, the NHL has announced they got phase 3 announced for dates. They have phase 2 announced. How are you feeling about all this? I know you're a big hockey fan. Are you excited to see things get back going?
Absolutely. There's one thing that's getting us all through life is that hope and, ambition that sports will come back soon. It's been a tough couple of months, staying away from family, stay away from friends. At least if we had some sports or something to watch, it passes a bit of time. But no sports, nothing to watch, no news. It's been pretty hard, I got to say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've pretty much all the sports I'm a huge sports lover, so everything that started to come back on, I've just been clawing right at. I mean, I've just kind of even been getting into UFC now, which is unheard of for me.
Yeah.
So the NHL, they have their 24 teams. They're doing their round robin. Anything in particular you're looking forward to, like matchup wise? I know I'm really excited about like potential upsets between maybe Montreal and Pittsburgh kind of deal.
Absolutely. I mean, the main one that I'm definitely going to, I'm a big, ironically, I'm a big Florida Panthers fan. I'm looking for Florida to have another chance against the Islanders this year. Last time we played, it didn't work out in our favor. But I mean, being a Canadian, you got to like that Calgary and Winnipeg matchup. Yeah. 2 strong teams, with great histories. It'll be great to see those 2 teams facing off. And, the best thing we can hope for, and we know, is that one team is making it onto the second round, and every team we get into the second round, I mean, it's Canada's opportunity to get the cup back home where it belongs.
Exactly. And I will second that, and all my American producers and all that stuff, they can just deal with it later. I know the one guy, Rado's a big Anaheim Ducks guy, but they're on the outside looking in, bud. So you worry about your draft pick, Rado. So I'm speaking with Adam Reid from social media for the Brampton Beast. Adam, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
So like I said, you work with the Brampton Beast. What do you make of the ECHL league right now? I mean, there's obviously going to be some possible implications with things coming out of this. What do you think the league is going to be facing in the future?
Well, I mean, things are going to be tough, Josh, as you know. The AHL depends on what the NHL does, and the ECHL, is affected by what the AHL does. So no matter what happens in Canada post COVID, things are all going to affect one another. It looks like NHL teams are going to be able to expand rosters to have AHL guys. So that's going to affect AHL rosters. You'll see guys from the ECHL have to go up to the AHL and fill in. If the NHL goes at its current rate, Josh, it looks like that the next season might not start until January 1st when Minnesota hosts the Winter Classic this year. So if that's a possibility, then, you're going to see the AHL and ECHL affected. So while everyone's great and we're going to get some NHL sports, we might not see any ECH hockey until, 2021, which would definitely affect a lot of people.
Yeah, it would. And I mean, it would be an absolute shame too, because like you said, it would affect a lot of people and a lot of players too. They're trying to make their mark. Something that I wanted to touch on that you just brought up is the fact that there could be more, spots for ECHL players to get seen up in the AHL level, or AHL players being seen up in the NHL levels. Do you think that could maybe be, a positive that could come out of all this stuff after eventually, everything gets all fixed up, like you said?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always good for these kids and young players. The guys in the AHL, at the end of the day, they want to try to make it up to the NHL. They want to get seen. You get guys who are on the cusp of the AHL, who now may get an opportunity if it should arise. And guys in the ECHL, all season long they're signing PTOs. We had a few guys sign PTOs in Utica and stuff, and they're always looking for the next opportunity, to improve themselves, to showcase themselves. So if anything that positive can come out of it, then yeah, absolutely. You could definitely see guys, get an opportunity and to show what they can do. Virtually we got an extended training camp. Some of these guys who wouldn't be up until September, they have 2 weeks now, could be in for a long playoff run.
Yeah, with some of the Black Aces and things like that, it's pretty exciting to see, what teams could actually be fielding out there with regards to young players or people that just could use the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So speaking of, positive things and positive opportunities, you do a lot of great work with youth teams, youth ball hockey teams. You just actually helped out a couple really well-deserving teams here a couple weeks. I want to say a couple weeks ago now. Could you tell people a little bit more about what you do there and about that initiative you did and just about these deserving kids?
Yeah. So what happened was, Josh, actually, I'm a coach of the high school ball hockey team here. And, the kids, they tried out, they made a team. And these kids, they work hard. They look forward to going to tournaments. They look forward to playing. You got guys who are in grade 12, getting their last chance at school sports. And unfortunately, with this COVID stuff, everything shut down. I think we were 2 weeks before playing our tournament, actually. So what school sports did in Newfoundland, they said, what, you guys can't play for the banner. What we can do is we can come out with an initiative where we'll put all the teams up for a week, and local fans can vote for schools, vote for who they think should win the banner. I was lucky because I know they did it for, like the school basketball team, a couple more school teams, but they did those on Instagram. And luckily, unfortunately, I'm not on Instagram. But I was lucky enough that this one somehow landed on Twitter. I knew I had a bit of a reach, a bit of a following. So I said, don't worry, guys. I'll try my best to take this home. You ask everyone, your moms and dads, your cousins and stuff, and let me worry about the numbers on Twitter. And we were lucky to come away with it. So, at the end of the day, the good thing about this is these boys, even though they didn't get a chance to play, they still have something to show for it, a memory that they can have. And they'll send a big banner that they can put up in the school and sign. And it'll be great for the kids to have that opportunity and that moment to look back on, what could have been.
Yeah, that's really awesome that you went out and did that, and the school took that initiative to kind of reward the kids, even though they weren't going to get to finish off the season, it being so close. Because unlike some of the major sports and things like that, those things usually just get kind of thrown on the wayside. So, cheers and shout out to you, Adam, and everyone that was involved in all that thing for getting those kids the recognition they deserve.
Absolutely. I think it's a good opportunity here, Josh, on your show to be able to reach out and say thank you all to everyone who supported. I know you were also a part of that. I know you voted and you tossed your support behind us. And at the end of the day, some of those votes were pretty close. So every vote, I know it's a cliche, but every vote really did count, and it did mean a lot to help these boys take home a banner.
No, and you'll have to make sure that you when they all get to have a picture in front of the banner and pose in front of it, you'll have to make sure you send me a shot so I can put it up and show it, and like you said, yeah, give these guys the recognition here. So
Absolutely.
Adam, thank you very much again for joining me.
Thanks, Josh. This is episode 6 for you. Congrats, by the way, on moving quite along. You're really moving along with these shows, and it's great to see. They get bigger and better, I think, every week, and they're really interesting.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for coming on this show. I look forward to having you on again and chat. We'll have to do it again real soon.
Thanks, Josh. Look forward to it, buddy.
Cheers. Have a great day. All right. So that was Adam Reid, social media for the Brampton Beast in the ECHL. Great guy. Had the pleasure of interacting with it on Twitter and getting to know a little bit about what he does there with the ECHL. And like he said, high school athletes and ball hockey players and really deserving kids. So I was really happy to have him on my show. I had him scheduled, or I was hoping to have him scheduled a couple of weeks ago. But I always apparently forget to mention that my show is at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And I have guests that don't actually live on Vancouver Island or in the Pacific time zone. So I have to very specify now that my show is at 3 p.m. Pacific time and 6 p.m. Eastern time. And I have to very specify. I have to tell my guests it's at 6 Eastern. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. So we got a little bit of more sports that I didn't get to in the opening that I'm going to get to now. I'm sure everyone's excited for this little bit of note. NASCAR has made a big news, and they banned all Confederate flags at events or on vehicles. It's a great decision for society. Doesn't really need to be on there. It's a symbol of deep-rooted hate. So I'm glad that they got rid of that. Anyone who's going to complain that they don't get to see the Confederate flag at a NASCAR event, I don't know what to tell you. Just watch them race around in circles and keep your mouth shut, okay? MLS, again, like I said, had the big announcement today. They came out, they announced all their groups. And then shortly after, the Whitecaps held a Zoom conference with head coach Mark DeSantos, which was great. We got to pick his brain. All of the main guys were there. Manuel Faith, of course, was asking all the amazing questions while I kind of stumbled through things. Corey Basso was stealing everything and seemed to ask 38 questions in the 4 questions he got, but he's a pro at it, so I got to learn from these guys. I want to talk about the groups a little bit because the Whitecaps one's an interesting one with the Sounders and FC Dallas and San Jose, and it's one that I could see them doing a lot of damage in, especially with their tactics. So the Whitecaps were down in San Diego, as I'm sure everyone knows because I talk about it all the time. I was down too. We had training camp. It was sunny. It was beautiful. It's kind of sunny today, but for the most part, we've had garbage weather on Vancouver Island. But they did play FC Dallas down there. And just the way that their style of play matched up with FC Dallas was really interesting. And I think that would be a good fit for them. Same with San Jose. San Jose, if they're still going to be doing their marketing thing that they were last year, I think that the Whitecaps with their high press and addition of Cavallini at striker can really do a lot of damage against San Jose. Seattle is always going to be a good team. Mark DeSantos was talking in the Zoom interview about how, excited he is in the interview, or excited he is to have Seattle in the group or be in a group with Seattle, the top seed. But just to kind of influence some like fan excitement about it. So he was kind of hoping, and he mentioned that they play Seattle first because I could see, fans coming out in droves and being really excited to, I don't know, get together in the senses they can, whether it be doing these Zoom meetings or social distancing at a pub or at a place now, or being with your group of people that you're allowed to do now as things kind of start to ease up restrictions wise, depending on where you are. So that's exciting. Like I said, the group of death in the West, I think is Group F, the LAFC, LA Galaxy, Portland Timber, Houston Dynamo group. I'm glad the Whitecaps aren't in that one. Over in the East, Group E, I see the Red Bull and Atlanta United just taking control of that one. We should see a good game against them. It'll all depend on really when teams have their matchups, because as anyone who knows who watches World Cups, if Atlanta United and New York Red Bulls are going to play in the third match and they've already taken care of Cincinnati FC and Columbus Crew respectively, then they might not necessarily have much to play for. Obviously, there's the season points at hand, but there's other things like injuries. We don't know if card accumulation is going to go into the second round. We do know that they will have VAR and 5 subs a team, but that's, everything else we'll kind of get to it as we go on. Group A, I thought is a little bit interesting with the 6 teams, Orlando City and Inter Miami. I like that they're kicking things off. New York FC, Philadelphia Union, Chicago, Nashville. I can see Philadelphia and New York FC kind of coming out on top, but we will, I guess, see, because they play the games for a reason. So, I'm really excited to be joined by my next guest, and I'm sure anybody who's a big hockey fan will know this name and know this guy. He's the best-selling author and co-host of Sportsnet Central, a contributor on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Ken Reid, and he's just connecting here. So he is also on the East Coast. So this is a very East Coast show. Ken Reid, thank you for joining me. I'm doing great.
I like that book in the background. That's good.
That one there, that's the one. Well, I'm only a little bit into the second one.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for picking it up.
I have the first one here. I've read the first one.
Awesome. Wicked.
And you also have a couple other books too.
Yeah, geez, I've written, I think 5 have been published by now. And I got another one coming out this fall called, One to Remember. It's kind of a loose follow-up to One Night Only. It's about guys who scored a single NHL goal. So that was supposed to be officially done today, but a little hiccup. So we'll get her done hopefully by tomorrow.
Now, hiccups are in the name of the game. So I don't know if anybody's not familiar with that other book, but it's about NHL players who just had the one time in the show, and that was it.
Right on, the one game. That was it.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for joining me. Like, how are you doing during these times? Hopefully you and your family staying safe and everything like that.
Yeah, we're a little bored. Work's kind of strange. I was supposed to do a few videos for work today, but I had some camera problems, but I've got it fixed for your show. It was that was user error. It was my bad. But things are good. I got some golf in this week, so no complaining. Just trying to, get through like everybody else. Seems like kind of getting there, so that's good.
I have not got any golf in because all of my days off have been just terrible weather with rain and wind, and so I'm still looking.
Isn't that what happens out there all the time, though? Yeah,
for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. We have had some good weather. So it was, I think, 32 when I was golfing yesterday. So
that's
gorgeous. It was hot, man. It was hot. It was.
We haven't even brought up. It's looking nice out there right now. I've been inside all day. The Whitecaps were dropping things earlier, and I feel like I've been on the computer for the last 5 hours, but I don't think it's got above 15 degrees here.
Beautiful. Gotta love that. That's good. That's good.
So obviously, I wanted to have you on. I want to talk a bit about Hockeycards, but I want to talk a bit about the NHL coming back too.
Sure.
So we have, phase 2 kicked off, and we got people actually shooting on goalies and passing the pucks, and I love to see it. And we have phase 3 with the July 10th start date. What do you make of everything? What are you most excited for?
I'm just excited that there's progress, I guess. I mean, you can only really take small steps when you don't know where the final step is, right? I mean, so much is up in the air, government restrictions and all that. We still don't know if there's going to be even training camps in Canada because of government restrictions. there's going to be a hub city in Canada. I don't think it really matters where a hub city is, although I think the NHL would like to have one of the hub cities in Canada. It's going to be really weird watching playoff hockey start in August, hopefully, and then in September. But this whole year has been really weird. But I find it absolutely incredible that hockey has a plan to go, basketball has a plan to go, and MLS has a plan to go, and the summer sport of baseball, just, man, they can just screw anything up. Just over the years, what they've done, my 94 Expos, that was just the ultimate in pain for me. I've never really recovered from that. But as far as hockey goes, to be sitting at home right now and thinking about hockey being played in August and training camps in July seems strange. But I think we're so starved for something that by the time it comes back, we'll be very much into it, especially if, if your local team makes a run. I think it'd be pretty fascinating, but it's definitely going to be different. But hey, this whole year's been different, so you might as well just roll with it.
It will be something that we'll have to get used to for sure. I mean, I can't think of, sometimes we get the summer tournaments or things like that, but it's not often that we get the full on playoff hockey experience right in the middle of summer.
Yeah, it's going to be different. I mean, nothing I can relate to. I think back to Canada Cups when I was younger. They were fantastic. They took place in September, but by the time they got going, you were kind of revved up for hockey again. Whereas now I think we're revved up for anything. I'm revved up to go to a restaurant. I'm revved up to go outside. So I think if you see some hockey on TV, it's going to be different. I mean, it's going to be strange with no fans, and it's going to look different. So I'm kind of excited to see what the broadcast will be like. If they're going to pump in crowd noise or what they're going to do, but it's definitely going to be different. But I'm just excited for anything at this point.
I think a lot of people are actually. That's what's really funny. I mean, like I said, I was saying to my last guest I had, I said I found myself watching UFC this week for the first time, and I was just, my dad's phoning me and said, "Oh, did you catch the UFC cards?" I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
You don't watch fighting?"
He does now. Yeah, I watched some as well. I used to be wicked into UFC, and then I liked it when it was a little more viewer friendly. When there was only a pay-per-view once every month or two.
Yeah,
you can kind of follow it. Now there's a lot to follow, but yeah, I mean, they're the only show in town, so obviously they're getting a lot of eyeballs and a lot of new eyeballs as well, so good on them. But although at times I think, gee, should guys really be fighting in these close quarters in these times? But hey, if they're cool with it and they want to do it, power to them.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of interesting things too with actually having hockey back, right? Like, in regards to hockey scrums, or what are they going to do? Are they going to, not have fighting? Or are they going to?
Well, fighting's a penalty, so you can't change the rule book midway through the season.
Yeah.
So look, once the puck drops, guys are going to be the same as they've always been. Obviously, everyone's going to be tested a lot, so. Once it's go time, it's go time. I don't think guys are going to be shying off. They're not going to be dumping a puck in the corner and saying, "Okay, we better not go in there because of COVID." I mean, if you get the green light to go that far, they'll be going. It'll be good.
Yeah, and you have to assume that the NHL and everyone will have all of their precautions and everything in order for the players. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, legally, and plus, PA has to approve everything, so if they're going to play, I think all doubt will be thrown out the window. Now, will there be guys who feel pressured to play? Maybe. Will there be guys who are afraid? Maybe. But I think the majority of players will obviously be good to go because, I mean, your window as a pro athlete's pretty small. So, and the interesting thing for me, though, is the NHL players are only owed one more paycheck. So these guys are busting their hump, 24 teams left, and they're giving up their summer and for basically one remaining paycheck, which is pretty interesting if you want to look at it that way.
Well, I always love to look at it from the business aspect side of it too. And I mean, yeah, like they are giving up a lot. Like you said, they're being isolated away from everything. Hearing that, I guess some of, they're going to get some limited family allowed with them, but still, things, are we going to see some players with maybe health issues opt out of maybe going down to a hub city? We've already seen it in some of the other sports. I mean, NBA is talking about it a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to take, the whole thing is, do you want to be away from your family for that long? It's a personal decision, but a lot of times people will go with the group. So I I could see one or two players maybe opting out, but I don't think it's going to be the norm. I think everybody will be good to go once everything's cleared. And I mean, geez, everything is, I mean, it's going to be the people that I interact with, I know aren't tested every day. So to me, it'll be the safest environment to be in, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true. Because I mean, I'm back working at a grocery store, and we do have to go through some precautions, but it's not as rigorous as, say, maybe the NHL players or professional athletes will have to go through.
Yeah, they'll good. I mean, just they'll be well taken care of. It's just to me, the biggest challenge will be, do you want to go away from your normal for that long to a hub city? But with Stanley Cup on the line, hockey players are pretty notorious about wanting to lift that cup. So I don't think it'll be a major issue at all. The big issues for me will just be clearance from the government, approval that, yes, you can play here and yes, we can make this happen. To me, that's the biggest hurdle, especially when you look at Canada with, the border closed and things like that. That'll be the biggest hurdle there, I think, for sure.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think that the NHL does definitely want to have a hub city in Canada. Obviously, John Horgan and Dr. Bonnie Henry submitted the proposal for Vancouver, but I think just Toronto, they really want to have it in Toronto just because of how everything is just so already set up there.
I don't know how you can have it in Toronto, though. I mean, this is where the majority of the cases are in Ontario.
Yeah, so they're opening everything else in Florida.
Florida's a whole different kettle of fish. So Florida's Florida, but I don't know. That's above my head. That stuff's way above my pay grade.
Okay, well, let's get into something that is your pay grade. So I'm here with Ken Reid, co-anchor on Sportsnet and best-selling author of Hockeycard Stories.
Yeah, that's you, Jay.
It was, man, what a read. And pardon the pun on your names. Actually, both my guests were Reids today.
Oh, so. Good theme.
Yeah, I had Adam Reid on earlier, so now I have Ken Reid on.
Okay.
And your book was a great read. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone who doesn't know really about it, could you talk a bit more about it and
sure.
Just talk about how you got into hockey cards in general?
Well, I was into hockey cards as a kid. I came of age in the 80s, so going down to the store and spending a quarter on a pack of cards is just what you did. Big time collector, was a dealer as a teenager and went away in my 20s and early 30s to, I was working around the country and you kind of go away from the hobby, but got back into it 10 years ago. I always had an idea for wanting to write a hockey book, and kind of the more I looked at my cards when I go home, the more I'd say, I wonder what this guy's thinking. So I don't know if there's any from my book. I just got a pile of cards here, but I mean, I'd go home and in 1983, when I'd see this card of Wayne Babbage, it wouldn't mean much to me, but as I got older, I'm like, that's a really cool helmet, man. That's a different looking bucket on Wayne Babbage. So then I'd say, I wonder what he thinks. And I know what I think of the card, but what does he think? So that was the idea for the book, is what do the guys think of their old cards? And when talking about their old cards, what kind of stories will it generate and where will it take us? So I chose 59 cards from my collection for hockey card stories, called up 59 players, and they told me the story of their old hockey cards. Could be an era card. They could be Hall of Famers. They could be guys who only had one card. And the stories kind of went everywhere, and it resonated with people. I thought, I didn't know if anybody would buy the book, but it definitely, it resonated with people. I think people just could relate because everybody in Canada collected cards at some point, and away we went. I mean, if you're talking long Cooperall from my era, that's what everybody wore in 1984. So it was a really fun book to do. It sold well, and I was offered to do another one, and I've got thousands and thousands of hockey cards. So all I had to do was pick up the phone and find these guys. So I wrote a second one that sold well as well. So yeah, hockey card stories. It was a lot of fun, and it made a connection with people, which I was surprised by and thrilled by.
Well, you shouldn't have been, because the amount of people that I've seen just love still and collect hockey cards and stuff. I mean, even like I got passed down a bunch of cards from my dad.
Oh, cool.
Something that you just mentioned, that how you picked up, you just picked up 59 cards. What? Because I know you're very dedicated to your knowledge of hockey cards. Anyone who doesn't follow Ken Reid, he does some great stuff about tracking down players and finding out who the mystery person is in a certain card, or helping people out for their things. So what made you choose those 59 cards?
Right. Well, I kind of looked through my cards. So I wanted to divide the book into 2 chapters, so I think error cards. So there's only so many error cards, and then just cards that I made a connection with as a kid. Cards that kind of meant something to me. I wanted to do something with those, so I got a bunch of those. And then again, just looking through them, just things that made me curious about that card. There was a Bobby Smith card from 83, 84, and I can still kind of remember getting it in a pack at the old Hector Arena. I got it at the canteen. It was such a big deal because Bobby Smith was this big stud in Minnesota, and he was traded, and it said "Now with Montreal" on the card. And he had his hand on his heart, and I thought that's the coolest looking card. He's listening to the anthem. So I called Bobby up and told him how cool I thought the card was. He's like, I was tugging on my shoulder pads, man. Why do you think the woman behind me is sitting down? He was laughing at me. It was great. Bobby's a great guy. So I had my version of what the card was about, and then they had theirs, but I chose cards that stood out to me over the years. And then as I was, getting ready to do the book, I just started rifling through thousands of my old cards and turning the back around, and maybe there was a funny cartoon on the back, and I thought that'd be funny to follow up on that cartoon on the back of the card. I remember it was a Pat Hickey card, and it says Pat drives a big Jeep, and I thought, okay, so called Pat Hickey up, asked him about the card. I said, well, on the back the Jeep, and he's like, oh my God, the Jeep. He goes, I sold that thing 6 months ago. I said, what? It's like 30 plus years later. So he told me all these stories about riding this Jeep around Manhattan with all these New York Rangers. So I chose cards that I had a connection with, cards that I was curious about, some cards that were notorious amongst hockey card collectors, and the guys that I talked to for the book. And this is the beauty about doing a hockey card book. You get to talk to 59 old players. They got it. Like the first thing they do when I'd say I'm writing a book about one of your old hockey cards is they'd laugh. And they'd say, really? Serious? A book about hockey cards? But then they absolutely connected to it, right from a guy who had a hockey card and never played a game all the way up to Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr. So it was really cool to do.
Yeah, you actually mentioned, in about like Chuck Luxa and not even playing 8 games, I think it was.
With Hartford,
he said.
yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah,
and he had a card, and his most memorable moment in the NHL was not fighting Gordie Howe.
Not fighting Gordie. And then there was a guy from home, from Amherst, Nova Scotia, named Jamie Matthews. He was the big deal when I was a kid in Nova Scotia. Drafted by Chicago, his upper deck card came out, and I never really knew why he never played the NHL. And I tracked him down. He's still in Amherst, and he gave me the whole story. It had to do with his father passing away and just stuff that you wouldn't know, but just asking about that hockey card brings you to that story. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that aspect of the whole thing.
I mean, one of the stories that I think will really resonate with some of the Vancouver audience, obviously over here on the West Coast, is the John Garrett card, the Cheech card.
Oh my God, that is honestly the 85-86 OPG John Garrett card is one of my favorite hockey cards. And if you just look at John Garrett's old cards, John has some of the best hockey cards you'll ever see. He has some WHA cards that are just beautiful. He has a Quebec Nordiques one where he's a backup goalie. And
some of his pads are...
like his 84-85 OPG is one of the nicest cards ever. He's got the mask on. He looks like he's going into the double stack save. But this 85-86 I wanted to ask him about. On it, he says now retired now a Canucks assistant general manager, which is just random. And obviously it didn't happen. So I wanted to know how that ended up on a hockey card. So John filled me in on it, the whole thing kind of that went down. And it was just an awesome story. And Cheech is just the best dude. Like what you see is what you get with him on TV. He's laughing when he's telling me the story. So he ends up telling me a story about how he had a hot dog in his goalie pad one night at the Colisee playing in nets. Just crazy stuff. And like now assistant GM, I remember as a kid going, what? That's weird. But then, years later, Garth Snow went from goalie to general manager. So I thought maybe Cheech was the trendsetter, but it was just, something that was said in the media, and the GM changed, and then that gig didn't happen. It ended up on a hockey card. It's a hilarious story. It's one of my favorite ones in the first book. That's in the first book, that one. So yeah, that was one of my favorite ones from the first book.
Yeah, that one really stood out to me too.
Yeah.
I want to mention another one too that I really liked. The one about Paul Maclean.
Oh God, yeah, Paul Maclean, yeah.
And his hockey card that was,
Yeah.
I guess, can we call it his hockey card?
You can call it his card. It's his pit. It's his name. It's his stats. So Paul Maclean's rookie card. It actually has a picture of Larry Hopkins on it. I don't know if you've got the book there, but
I do. Yeah.
if you're to put Larry Hopkins and Paul Maclean side by side, I mean, they both play for the Winnipeg Jets. They both have feathered hair. They both have mustaches. They don't look all that different. So pretty honest mistake by the hockey card makers, but it was Paul's first card. He didn't seem to care, but his mother got a little tick. So his mother wrote to O-Pee-Chee. Yeah, so there's Larry Hopkins. You can see how he'd passes Paul Maclean pretty easily, right? So his mom writes a letter to O-Pee-Chee and kind of says, you got to get my son right. So they sent mom all these pictures and, the O-Pee-Chee gift pack, and they never made that mistake again. So the first hockey card Paul's official picture appeared on was 83-84, but on his 82-83 rookie is Larry Hopkins. So that would be a cool card to get signed, though, by both guys, maybe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now that's something I like too, like getting those. Like I have a really cool, like I'm a big baseball card collector too.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones is the Mike. I got my Michael Jordan,
Upper Deck?
Chicago, Upper Deck 91, Chicago
Yeah.
Barons one. The White Sox. No, the White Sox promo.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got that one. I got the Upper Deck one.
And
that's a good one. But there's some cool ones out there.
One of the ones I really like is the Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr., the one with them together in a thing. And that's one of the ones.
Bowman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from one of the wax series. Yeah.
Yeah. 89 Bowman. Yeah. I've got that card. Yeah.
But that was one of the ones I always like. That would be cool to get these cards and get them signed by a couple different people.
Dual signatures. Yeah, that's the crazy thing is I've got just as many baseball cards as I got hockey cards. So there's a lot of cardboard scattered around this house, much to my wife's chagrin. Like there's literally cards everywhere. So like you open a drawer and there's cards. It's kind of nuts. My wife's very patient.
Well, she is. So that's very good of her. I mean, so I'm with Ken Reid, author of best-selling book Hockey Card Stories, and obviously the second chapter. I was just wondering, if you were, you wrote these books like you said, and you didn't know if there was that big of an interest in hockey cards. I'm kind of seeing now that there's a really big interest in hockey cards. I see breaks all the time on Instagram and Twitter and all these things, and hockey card collecting kind of seems to be getting back in with kids.
It's crazy how it's taken off. I'd say it's the strongest it's been since the late 80s, early 90s. I think there's a lot of things that went into that. I think the Tim Hortons cards that were released a few years ago got a lot of people back into it. Just going through the drive-through and, I'll take a pack of cards for 99 cents. Maybe that was people our age who were collectors, or they get it from their kids. Maybe that got them back into it. Obviously, everybody being on lockdown for a few months, you poke around the house. So people kind of, oh man, look at those. I forgot about those cards. Maybe they get back into it or pass it on to their kids. We're desperate to connect to sports. A great way to connect to sports is through sports cards. So maybe that's playing a factor. The fact that some of them are worth quite a bit of money, obviously a factor for some people. There's that investing aspect of it. So there's a lot of things that have gone into it. But I think the hobby's really healthy. I hope it stays healthy. I hope, and here's another thing is, I think you can collect whomever, whatever you want, and you can be an investor, you can be a collector, you can do whatever you want as long as you're in it and you're being cool to other people. You're not trying to rip people off like we saw with the Slabgate there a year ago. That's not cool at all. So, and I think it's great that people are getting back into it, and I think it's just a great way to connect to the game. And for a kid, and even for me or for someone your age, Joshua, it's a great way to learn about hockey history. I mean, I think it's just like for me, again, I'll go back to Wayne Babbage. How many people know that Wayne Babbage was the first 50 goal scorer in St. Louis Blues history? He got 54 goals in 80, 81. So hockey cards are a great way to learn about the history of the game. And for when I was a kid, they were my internet, right? I'm pre-internet. So I didn't know anything about a guy until I read it on his hockey card. So I'm really happy to see people out collecting again. And when this is over, the first big show, it's going to be absolutely packed. I can tell you that because people are raring to go.
Yeah, actually, direct quote from the book is hockey cards were the original IM hockey
Yeah,
DB. So
it's very true. It's very true.
so
How else
one
would you know Pat Hickey drove a Jeep or Tom Fergus had 2 German Shepherds in 1983? You'd only know that through a hockey card.
exactly. So one of the things I wanted to do with you, I mean, I had to skip a bunch of my questions, but that's fine because I've just been enjoyed talking to you and listening to what you have to say about hockey cards so far.
Cool, man.
One of the things I definitely wanted to do is I got some old wax score packs,
Yeah.
91
Okay.
from my local shop. So I wanted to open up a couple of those and
Beautiful.
we'll just look at the cards and then
Now,
whatever you got.
Are those the Lindros rookie year or is that the year after the Lindros rookie? Because he was 90-91. I'm wondering if those are.
No, it's not it's the 90s.
Okay.
His is the 91.
Okay. We still got some good.
No,
good
actually, you know what?
photos
There might be the. Actually, I think it is the Lindros year.
Okay. Let me see what they look like right away, and we can tell you when we open them up. No, that's the year after them. But there's some good Eric cards in that set, regardless.
So
Okay, who we got?
do it my light so my light doesn't.
That is. Oh, Jimmy Carson. Look at that. I got a Jimmy Carson right there. 55 goals in his second NHL season. Part of the Wayne Gretzky deal. Adam Graves, another 50-goal scorer. Part of the kid line in Edmonton with, who was it, Marty Jelena? And I'm thinking, who else was on that? Bob Rouse. Look at that, Bob Rouse. Wow. Marty, who was on the kid line? Jelena, Graves, and Joe Murphy. There you go. Sorry. Brain fart.
Leafs cards. That'll go to my dad.
Oh, your dad's a Leafs fan.
Huge Leafs fan. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Poor guy.
I know.
Oh, look, Dad's happy. He got another one. Who did he get there?
Oh, Brian Bradley.
Bit of a sniper, Brian Bradley.
Oh,
Good player for Tampa Bay early in the T-Bay days.
And look at the sniper. Look at the sniper pose.
Oh, yeah. He's holding it. That's a good pose.
What do we got here? Oh, top prospect.
Patrick Lebeau, brother of Stefan Lebeau. Stefan Lebeau lit it up in the American League. It couldn't translate to the NHL. It didn't translate for Patrick either. So
No, it did.
Yeah.
This ended up not being a top prospect.
Oh,
Al Frady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know a lot of modern players because you gotta kind of keep your distance, but I do a lot of work with NHL alumni and I do a lot of events with Al. Al is one of the friendliest, nicest human beings you will ever meet, combined with having one of the greatest slap shots of all time. If you told me I had to hang out with Al Iafrate during this entire lockdown, I'd be quite happy. He is a blast. Al is just an awesome human being. The way he connects with people, it's wicked. He's one of those guys you see him and you're instantly happy. That's a gift that Al has. So Al's a beauty of a guy.
Oh, love it. Love getting all this behind the scenes. Okay, who's next? I don't even know. I don't even think we're gonna get through more than one pack. Actually,
What we got there?
Well, I think we got a Canucks here. Oh,
Doug Lidster?
Yes.
Long-time Canuck. Another thing about reading about hockey cards. I was getting some cards together for a display, and a number of Canucks with them. I didn't realize how long Doug Lidster played for the Canucks. He was around Vancouver forever.
Man, one of those guys that just was on the wayside. He was just there.
Yeah.
What was Doug Lidster? Nothing. Just in Vancouver.
Just consistently awesome.
So this is one of the ones that I love. I love that this one's next because I love these cards.
Yeah, that's cool. I did an Instagram live with Phil Pritchard last week, keeper of the Cup, and it was interesting. Phil took me through the history of the Cup on cards. The first one was in the 20s, and then there was this kind of hiatus from Denny Potvin with it in an 83-84 OP cheap pack until that era when Lemieux started winning. So the Cup had a little 7-8 year hiatus there, but that was a good team, man.
Oh, those Penguins teams were unreal.
Crazy good. Wasn't for the New York Islanders, they probably would have won 3 in a row.
Oh, look at this one. I mean, I like it because it's Cam Neely, but
yeah,
not because it's Boston.
Doesn't that reek of boom era cards? Like the card companies just starting in 90.
Hey man, Batman's doing really well right now.
Yeah, Batman's taking it and just trying to do something different, right? Like Upper Deck took pictures of guys off the ice and Scores just trying to do something different with the old Bam there. Yeah, that's good.
We're running out of time here, but one of my favorite cards is the Pavelberg rollerblade card.
Oh, beautiful. I believe what's the beach in Vancouver called? St. Kitts Beach?
Kitsilano Beach.
Kitsilano Beach. Okay, that's where
probably probably I don't know.
Right, that's where the Linden brothers had their rollerblade card done. Trevor and his brother. That's where they had their rollerblade card done. So I'd be curious to see if that's where Val and Pavel had their rollerblade card done. I'd bet it was. I tried to get Pavel or Val for both books to talk about that card. Couldn't track them down. So, that's all you can do is ask. Couldn't track
I've done
them down.
some acting with Valerie's wife.
Oh,
Candace.
really? Were you in Full House?
No, I was. She did Aurora Tea Garden Mysteries
Oh, nice.
for the
Cool.
Hallmark Channel. So
The Hallmark. Yeah, I know she made a lot of Hallmark movies. Was
Yeah.
Val around?
no, he was not. But I was. If I valued my job, otherwise I would have asked her about.
Right. You can't talk to the stars. Is that the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, that's close. You should have got me the phone number. I would have called Val up. But I tried to track him down. I didn't have any luck.
When things work, when things get back going, I'll try and get that going for you. So
If they make a sequel and you're in the sequel, give me that.
yeah,
number.
for your third book, you can do it. For your
Oh God,
prequel.
Dirt. Oh God, yeah. I don't even want to think about that. That's not happening anytime soon. I don't think that one.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for joining me. This was an absolute blast.
Cool, man. Glad you enjoyed it, Josh. I had fun too, buddy.
Yeah. So there's obviously co-anchor on Sportsnet and best-selling author of the Hockeycard stories. You can pick that up on Amazon. The link's actually going to be down below.
Cool.
So you can check that out there. So thank you very much for joining me, Ken. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. Have a good one. Peace out.
Well, I didn't even get to half my questions and I'm running a little bit over time. So I got to wrap this up really quickly because I'm getting just in my ear, go, finish up your show because it's already at getting close to an hour mark. So I just want to thank my two guests, Adam Reid from the ECHL Brampton Beast for joining me and author Ken Reid. That was an absolute blast talking sports cards. I had actually a whole stack of hockey cards that we were going to talk about and open up, but I could listen to him talk hockey cards for a while, so I'll have to have him back on the show. And Pavel and Valerie, if you're listening to this, which I'm sure you are, make sure to get in touch with Ken Reid. Make sure that you like and subscribe down at the bottom to the show. You can check me out every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And this has been the Unnamed Sports Show on the Sports Talk Line Network. I have been Joshua Griffith. And as always, love sports, all sports.